We are Zach and Ashlyn, and we are building our new off-grid 50-acre property right here in Kentucky. We have been busy building our pole barn, and in this episode, we finally finish it. We have worked hard to build this thing, and the best part is we saved ourselves almost $20,000 doing it all on our own. Well, here we are this morning, back out at the property to keep working on this pole barn. We got all of our metal, everything is on here for this pole barn. We're gonna start on the roof, so I need to put in a drip edge, and we need to put some bubble wrap, and then we can actually start putting the tin on for the roof, and then we'll start doing the siding once we get the roof on. What I'm using to put in this drip edge is basically just those flat roofing nails. We'll have our bubble wrap that'll sit over the top, and then obviously our metal overhang, maybe about 1.5 inches. The next thing we got to put up on this roof after our drip edge is this bubble wrap. This part I'm a little worried about because it gets a bit windy down here and it's just springtime, so it's really windy this time of year. It's tornado season, so we're dealing with all of that, and I am gonna be tacking this down as I roll it up. We're just gonna have to see how this goes. Well, unfortunately, I forgot to hit record, but as you can see, I've already started getting some of this metal roofing up. Boy, those first couple sheets were really tough. I've got a system that I think's working for me, but it is a lot of up and down, and it is a really windy day, so dealing with those 14-foot sheets of sheet metal up in the air is a pain in the butt. We got a few more panels left before this side is finished, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the other side. Because I'm doing this roofing by myself, it's really hard to get these sheets up there. And once I get these sheets up there, they want to slide back down on me. So I've built another set of hands, just a board, which is 1.5 inches, which gives me my 1.5 inch overhang. And then I've got another board that catches it, so that way it sits there perfectly at 1.5 inches, keeps everything in place while I screw it, and make sure everything's nice and straight and level and all that good stuff. I wouldn't be able to do that without putting up something like this, because they would just keep sliding on down from me. These tennis shoes are really sticky, which is nice. So on this last piece of metal that I got to put on here, I actually need to cut this sheet, which is, the sheets are about 3 feet wide. But to cut these sheets, I've got three different tools that I'm going to probably be working with for the whole pole barn. They're all going to work good in different places, but of course we have just the regular tin snips, with the degreed, I don't know what degree that is, but with the angle there, so that way it's nice and easy to cut. I like using those for doing like the corners and the edges and things like that. There's also these DeWalt automatic shears that you can hook up to a drill, and it just makes cutting really nice. So if you're cutting a long sheet, you can do this. I'll probably use this if I'm cutting on the flat of a sheet, but if I've got to go up and down the ribs, this is not that easy to use, and I'm not a big fan of it. So if I've got to go up and down the ribs, I've actually got an attachment for my skill saw that's a metal blade, so that way I can, cut those angles for my gables and things like that, and cut over the ribs nice and easy without having to, have any weird looking edges or anything like that, which sometimes happens with this. So. Out of this entire pole barn, I'm pretty sure that was just the hardest part of putting this thing together, at least doing it by myself. If I had another person to help, it would have been a lot easier. But it's springtime here in Kentucky, and it's a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, but I've got today and I got tomorrow, and then it rains again. And last week we had rain for, like 5 days straight, because there was all a bunch of weather coming through the country, all those tornadoes and everything in Arkansas and whatnot. And all that weather hit us, and it's been raining like crazy, and I haven't been able to get out here. And Ashlyn had a little labor scare. Well, not a scare, it's a good thing. she was having contractions, and so we rushed to the hospital. And of course, it's her first pregnancy, so we're not sure what to expect, and they kind of sent us back home because she wasn't quite there yet. So, but with all of that, this has been put off for a little while, and I've got 2 days of sun, so tomorrow we're gonna finish the other side. We'll get the roof all finished up, and I've got a pretty good system now, so it should go a lot quicker tomorrow, as long as it doesn't rain or anything. So I've got my metal roofing here, and I kind of lean it up so I can grab it from the top. I've got my tractor with some forks and a pallet, and you can see I've put a piece of wood. Because the wind's blowing from here, it'll hit and it won't fall down. And this is kind of what you got to do when you're working by yourself. Well, our metal roof is on. That means that we actually have some cover underneath our pole barn, so I can actually store some stuff for right now. We've got pretty far for the time I've been able to spend on it. And our daughter, Adeline, was actually born last week, which I don't know when this video will come out, but that was April 9th. So we've been really busy, really tired, and I've been trying my best to get to work on this as much as I possibly can. But thankfully, we're getting in a rhythm of things, and of course, we're just adoring our new daughter. I should be able to get this thing done here soon because it's gonna be nice and beautiful, and summer is right around the corner, so we're gonna be moving along nicely, I think. Hopefully when you see me next, we're starting the siding. It's time for us to get started on the siding of this pole barn. The first thing I gotta do is put in some trim pieces, which is like a rat guard on the bottom, a double angle in the middle for our wainscoting, and then I think it's called a Z or a J flashing on the top, which basically combines our soffit with our vertical white or second colored siding piece. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it'll make a lot more sense as I get going, so let's get to it. So towards the bottom of our pole barn here, we've got to put in some trim, like I said. This one right here is a rat guard. I'm not sure why they call that, but probably because this bottom edge doesn't let anything back there. We need to put this on here so that way we can set our wainscoting and then eventually our upper siding as well. We've got the first bit of house wrap on, we've got our rat guard on, which is what our wainscoting is gonna sit on. So we are ready to put in our wainscoting, which is 42 inches all around, and then we can do the upper part. This big piece of metal right here is for my trim where my garage door is gonna go, because that's what this nice big thin piece is. It'll kind of line up in here, but it'll also give my siding a place to slide into and kind of hide that edge. Now that we've got our wainscoting in, we need to get our double angle in. Basically, this is just gonna sit right on top of our wainscoting. The reason why we're using this polar white instead of a charcoal trim is because we're about to transition to our polar white siding, and you want the siding to be the same color as the trim that is on the lower side, or in this case, not having a lip. Any imperfections in this charcoal, as you can probably see, is covered by the lip on this double angle. So we want to keep that consistent all the way up. This one should be super easy to install. We're going to do it the same as we did our rat guard on the bottom. Unfortunately, we had a pretty big windstorm and my Tyvek started coming off, so it was just flailing around in the wind, so I decided to take it off. Not necessarily needed, it would have just been a bonus, but it's okay. It makes it easier to put this metal on so I can actually climb up if I need to. You can see I've got my first panel here of our white, which is our upper siding, and we're gonna go ahead and install all of the white all around and hopefully get this thing all sided today. This morning, we're jumping right into it and we are installing our soffit. You can see I already installed a couple of them there and we need to install that down on this side and then down on the other side. We are nearly there. We just got to finish putting all our trim in and of course our soffit. Let's get to it. Now we've got all of our soffit up. That went pretty quickly. I just used a brad nailer to get all that tacked in. Now we've got to put in what's called a post trim, which is a big trim piece that's gonna go on the underside of this soffit and hide any of that edge and then click underneath our drip edge. It'll have a really nice finish when we're done with it. There's our soffit and our post trim in. Those little details just really finish out the pole barn, hides all that wood, makes it look really, really nice. Now we've got to go ahead and start putting in some corner trim and then our roof trim. It might start raining, so hopefully it doesn't start raining before I can get up there on the roof. Now we've got to put our upper corner trim on. I've got the top all cut. This is what goes at the very top. And then this bottom part is gonna sit right where the white ends. Well guys, the pole barn is completely finished. Well, not completely, we still need to pour concrete, but we're not gonna do that anytime soon. We have a budget that we're working with on our house, and this was really just to kill some time and give us an area to store some things. Concrete's really expensive, so we're not gonna go ahead and do that now. We'll save that for later. I can deal with a dirt floor or a gravel floor in this pole barn for the meantime, but the pole barn is totally done aside from that, and it turned out really good. I'm glad I took my time and focused on all these little trims and everything. It just looks so good. I really like the colors and just the transitions are so seamless on it. It's a beautiful pole barn and I'm very happy with it. I did do the majority of this build all by myself. If you've been watching, we have a few other episodes of me, building the framing and everything that you can check those out. But I did have some help from my father-in-law on some of those days, and so I'm really thankful for that. But glad to be done with it so we can move on to other projects. I was very curious on what this would cost if I had to pay somebody to do it. And so I got some quotes, and that is for exactly how it is. This price I'm about to talk about isn't for any garage door or concrete slab or anything. That is just for what we have here. And $25,500 is what I was quoted to build this 24 by 32 barn. And I was pretty surprised at that price, but if you don't have the skills or you don't have the tools and you don't have the knowledge or at least have the willingness to learn, things cost money. So, and people with businesses, they've got to make money. So this pole barn, doing it by ourselves, saved us almost $20,000 because the framing, the wood, and the metal and the trim and all of that good stuff cost me right about $6,000. So we saved almost $20,000, and that is gonna be a pretty consistent thing when we go to build our house, because our house is gonna be very, very efficient. not a cheap house, but if I were to have somebody build this home, it would be $400,000–$500,000. So we're doing everything by ourselves and we're saving a ton of money. We're learning a lot. Maybe everything isn't perfect, but I think it turned out pretty darn good. And I'm very happy with the details on this. So don't be afraid to learn new things, you know, gain knowledge and, you know, build up your tool shed and get everything you need so you can build a nice pole barn like this. This is a 24 by 32, and I think it's gonna be exactly what we need for the meantime. We may actually double it at some point so we have a parking area, but this for the most part will be like the shop where I can work on, you know, our cars and, you know, have my tools and all that sort of stuff. So if you are thinking about building a pole barn, they're actually not that hard. I would say the hardest part is just the fact that you're kind of balancing all the time. You're not standing on any sheathing or anything like that, like on a house. You're just sitting on the purlins and all of that. So I would say that's a little nerve-wracking at times, but for the most part, pole barns are pretty easy. They're very forgiving if you mess up and things aren't squared up. So if you're thinking about building one of these, I definitely recommend it. Save yourself some money. There's plenty of YouTube videos. You can watch ours. Ours isn't a how-to video, but there's so many other people out there that have very in-depth how-to videos on building a pole barn like this, and they do a much better job than I would. But thank you guys so much for following along. That was a heck of a project. That is our second project that we've done on this new property. First, we put in our road. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch those couple videos of us doing that. And then obviously, I think we have about 3 videos of us building this pole barn. Next up, next week, I'm actually gonna get started on the foundation of this house. I've been waiting for it. If you can see behind me, we have this huge pile of gravel, and this was about an 80,000 pound with the truck and the gravel coming through here. And the reason why we got this dumped is, you know, so we can spread it around, but it was also our tester to make sure that we can get an 80,000 pound concrete truck. And our road held up exceptionally well for that tri-axle dump truck who delivered this gravel. So I'm feeling confident that we can start this slab and actually finally start working on our house and hopefully make some really big strides so that way we can move into this home by the end of the year. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.